administrative and technical challenges both we have in AMI. I have been told not to allow you ask questions because of the time limit we have crossed.
Yeah, our sincere apology. Sir, our sincere apology.
I would suggest that you can take up those questions while enjoying lunch.
Sir, our sincere apology, due to time constraints, we would not be able to take this question answer right now, but we have a panel discussion. Those who are having questions, we have a panel discussion at 3:30. You can hand over the questions to committee members and those will be addressed during that panel session. Sir, I would like to thank all the panel paper presenters who take us through the AMI experience, then drivers, then challenges, and Rajesh has taken us to 2027 from 2017 to 20. So that's a good part. So I would request Mr. Gary Cox to hand over to present the mementos to paper presenters as well as the session chairman. Mr. Gary, please. Mr. Gary is a Vice President Strategic from Census.
Still on the line?
Yeah, I'll just call upon Mr. Ganguly. Mr. Udyan Ganguly from CSC. Mr. Sudhanshu Gupta from ENY. Mr. A.P. Singh from PVVNL. And Mr. Rajesh Nimare from Secure Meters. And Mr. Vivek Chandra from MPV KVNL. Thanks, Gary. So with this, we come to the end of session number 5 of day 2. So we'll start the next session post after lunch exactly at 2:15. We are behind the schedule 15 minutes. We'll try it. So we have reduced this lunch session for 15 minutes time. So I would request all the delegates to be here, assemble again at 2:15 p.m. Thank you very much. एक मिनट Sir, please. Sir, we'll have
Lunch session, session 6, day 2. This is the last session for paper presentation. So request all the delegates to please take the seats so we can start. So I request Mr. Atul Bali to come on the stage to chair this session, session 6, day 2. Mr. Atul Bali is an electrical engineer from Delhi College of Engineering, and he is an MTech also from IIT Delhi. We know him since working in PFC. At least I know him since he was working in PFC. So, and he is an old hand in the smart grid work. He was there in the STGF and now in NSGM. So, welcome Mr. Atul Bali over here. Manjushi would like to welcome, formally welcome Mr. Atul Bali. It's new that Mr. Bali has also contributed tremendously for the organization. He was part of the organizing committee also, and he has been attending the meetings with us. So I am now calling on the stage Mr. Hemendra Agarwal. He is B Electrical. He is working in Power Grid as DGM. He has experience in EHV lines and substations. He has also been working in the smart grid work. for quite some time, 5-6 years I am seeing him. Now I call upon Juan Carlos Sanchez. He is from Brazil. He is BSc and MSc in electrical engineering. He is a doctor. He has got a PhD degree in electrical power systems. Since 2008, he has been working as a researcher in legal metrology, Directorate of Brazilian National Institute of Metrology. He has written a paper for our Metering India 2017, and this is the first time that we got a paper from Brazil. So we found the paper very good. So he is here. Thanks, Juan, for coming over here. Our next speaker is Marcos Fernandez. He is also an electrical engineer and senior project manager certified with Siemens. He has got experience in smart grid, energy transmission, distribution. Welcome, Marcos. Service and operations and maintenance projects. So we have got one more speaker, Mr. Anuj Goswami. Mr. Goswami is he is from APDCL. He is BE Electrical. He is Assistant General Manager. He has been the part of the APDCL AMI pilot project being done. He was there in the procurement, part of the RFP preparation also. Welcome, Mr. Goswami. I request all the delegates. The last speaker is Mr. Diego Humberto Caligari. Sorry for if I have pronounced not correctly. He is a computer engineer and he is working as a general project technical coordinator of AMI project Siemens. He has expertise in SCADA, smart grid, energy transmission and distribution. Welcome, Diego. So I am handing it over to Shri Atul Baliji. So taking this session, just to set the tone, we have got exactly 1 hour, 5 minutes to cover it up. So request all of us to stick to the time schedule. I have tried to cover in 5 minutes, so same.
Thank you, Anandji. I think now we are going to hear basically the perspective from the utility, and this would be basically you can say from house's mouth. The topic is basically the utility perspective of the smart grid implementation. I think we have a very rather electrifying session in the morning, and after that we have had the smart meter journey, and I think one of the panelists also commented upon the difficulties or the impediments in the RAP-DRP implementation and the smart grid journey which India have gone through. Of course, we have two of the utility of these two pilot projects. One is from Agartala and one from Assam. You can see incidentally from the northeast region, both of papers are from that region altogether. And we are nearly 11 pilot projects altogether in implementation stage. And this was actually conceptualized in 2012. Implementation started from 2014. Of course, we have a lot of challenges. And I think I'm very happy to note that I just asked Manjushri what is the level of the participation from the utility side. And nearly 40 plus utilities of Indian distribution companies are right here. And that's a good thing, good signal, because ultimately they have to own it and take it further. Otherwise, every stage is set, and now the process has to be taken forward. In NSGM also, we have sanctioned the 4 projects. Now we are going to hear from the utilities. And of course, we have 2 international perspective also. That's coming from the similar type of, you can say, case. One of the presentation is a larger one, and that is, I think, I will, at that time, advanced meeting infrastructure deployments from the World Bank portfolio, the Brazil expense, that will give extra time for that. Otherwise, you can take it 10 minutes. We'll be giving it nearly 15 to 20 minutes of that. I think we'll try to cover up and match up. And let's go through the session, and then we have the interactive session later on. From beginning, I will request Shri Hemendra Agrawalji. Hemendra Agrawalji is basically consultant from Power Grid side, and he has been consultant to rather 5 or I think 9 utilities in India. He will be presenting the case for Agartala. Shri Hemendra. I like the name.
Good afternoon, everybody. I thank the organizer for giving opportunity for giving this presentation. I am giving this presentation on behalf of Tripura Utility. Power Grid is consultant for Tripura, and I am going to present the rollout of the Tripura Smart Grid project and what are the challenges we faced during implementation of this project. Though it is not completed, it is the largest pilot project in the country, around 45,000 meter. In this project we are installing smart meters, and it is the PLC based project. So some brief about the Tripura. It is the second smallest state in India. It shares the border with Assam, Mizoram and Bangladesh. Population is 37.71 lakhs. Area is around 10,000 square kilometer, and its capital is Agartala. We are implementing the project in capital Agartala, subdivision 1 of Agartala. The objective of the project is to provide the reliable and affordable power to the consumers and enabling the consumer participation in the energy management, improving the billing and collection efficiency, reducing the outage and online energy audit, and deferment of investment in infrastructure. By controlling the peak, we can, because maximum infrastructure we create for the peak power. So by deferring the peak, we can defer the investment in the infrastructure. So this is an overview of the project area. The peak demand is 36 megawatt. 33 kV feeder are 6 numbers. 11 kV feeders 24 numbers. And DT are 385 now. After survey, increased to 415. LTST ratio is 2.6/1. The billing efficiency is very poor here, is around 70%. Collection efficiency 91, and AT&C loss is 35.7%. And project area size is 12 square kilometer. So this is a small about the project overview. The project awarded on 22nd September 2015, and total cost is 80.07 crore. It is the biggest project of all the pilot project, including AMC, and excluding AMC cost is 63.43 crore. 50% grant is by Ministry of Power, and the project is awarded to the consortium of Wipro and J&J Power. So project component are advanced metering infrastructure, peak load management, and the smart meters, as I told, are PLC based, narrow band PLC, and around 42,000 are single phase meters, and 2,000 are three phase meter. Earlier three phase meter was around 8,000, but after survey the quantity of three phase meter reduced. LT meter is 415, DCU are also 415, because in PLC communication we put the DCU at the LT side of the distribution transformer. So the DCU are equivalent to the number of DTs. And here we are doing the peak load management also, demand response, demand side management, consumer portal, time of use tariff also we are going to implement, and automatic load control. So major KPI are AT&C loss 35.7, peak load 36, and meter reading cost per month is 2.28 lakhs. Number of support field staff 77. Customer average interruption duration in minutes are 456 minutes. And reconnection cost is 200. So that is the major benefit we are going to achieve by deferring the cost of billing, cost of reconnection, and by reducing the AT&C loss. So we are expecting the return on investment will come very soon. Billing efficiency is very poor because there are problem in taking the manual reading. There are a lot of problem. So by rolling out the smart meters, we can address that problem. So present project status is all engineering approval have completed. Site survey also completed. After site survey, the quantity of meter earlier was 42,000, increased to 45,000. The control room is ready, hardware installation completed, and software also installed. And around 7,000 meter we have installed in the field. 65 DCU we have installed. And first round of standalone testing of MDS, MDM, PLM and consumer portal also completed. But there are certain issues during those testing. So those issues are being addressed by the consortium Wipro and J&J. There are problems like data in the MDS is coming around presently 3,000 meter are communicating MDS, but in MDM only 800 meter data is coming. So the integration of MDS, MDM also being resolved. And in field also we are facing lot of problem. We install the meter under 1 DT as per the data given by utility. But when we install the meter and DCU, we find that those meters are actually not under those DTs. Sometimes they shifted whole consumer to the other DT. So data is not coming. We install the DCU, but no data is coming to that DCU because the consumer is shifting. So such type of problem coming in the field, we are trying to address those problems. So this is how we install the meter. In October, we installed 500 meter, and gradually till date, more than 7,000 meter we have installed. So many challenges we encountered during implementation. First challenge is type testing. Type testing of meter take almost 5 months because the test bench of lab is faulty. We have to follow up the lab to rectify their lab. And then there was, you must have heard, there was road from Assam to Tripura totally broken due to heavy rain. And during Durga Puja, a lot of holidays are there that delay the meter transportation and installation. And meters are coming from Hyderabad to Agartala. The transportation is also a big issue. Many times we have to airlift the meter. Consumer resistance is also there. And as I already told, there are dynamic nature of distribution network. Utility very frequently shifting the connection of their electrical network, shifting consumer from one DT to another DT. Sorry. And there are problem of GPRS signal also. And integration with RAP-DRP is a very big challenge because the RAP-DRP implementing agency asking huge sum of money for allowing the integration. So that is talk is also going on, and that is a very big challenge. So the expected improvement out of this project is reduction in AT&C losses, better load management at the peak, reduction in manpower, reduction in average interruption, reduction in maintenance cost, reduction in duty failure, consumer satisfaction and engagement. And the way forward is after successful implementation of this project, we are going to roll out for entire Agartala city, creating more consumer awareness and implementation of enabling regulatory provision, because we have to enable time of use tariff, connection, disconnection through regulators. And after implementation of AMI, we are going to implement other smart grid technologies like power quality monitoring, distribution management system, outage management system, and SCADA. Thank you.
Thank you, Hemendraji. And I think I must like to add one more thing into that. This was the first pilot in India which is being implementing the PLC technology as a whole. So nearly 40,000 plus meters, because we have a challenge typically in India, when we say we have to implement PLC, then we have a lot of reservations. Our wiring, our interconnections, that are not too proper. So that is a major challenge being at that time envisaged, but it's being, implementation is so smooth going on there. I think it would be worth visiting after this project is completed. I think maybe in a span of next 3 months, I think. You know, Hemendra? Next 3 months, we'll be able to finish off that particular, all these installation meters of that. And along with that, I think other challenge we have rightly spoken, and earlier speaker also mentioned, the major challenge of integration. Because we, in NER, there's a typical thing was that the entire NER was conceptualized as one data center. Along with the different states, we have 7 sisters along with that. So in that, Agartala is the key constituent along with the Assam. Other states are also there. So in Agartala, we are implementing, we have a very good team there. And along with the support of the consultant, of course, the implementing agency along with the J&J, they are all implementing a very good solution. And I think we'll be having a good, rather a project, demo project for all of our India for PLC demonstration. And I think you can rightfully ask the question at the end of the session after we are complete with that. Now I'll invite our guest from Brazil, and they are basically the implementing agency from Siemens, Shri Marco Fernandez and Mr. Diego. I request them to present their case and infrastructure deployment from the World Bank portfolio and their experience in this regard.
No, wait.
Okay.
Just go to the part. Maybe it's already there. Okay.
Let's check it will work. So that's a minute. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marco Fernandez, and I'm from Siemens Brazil, where I'm the General Project Manager of the AMI project that will share with you our experience.
My name is Diego Calegari. I'm the General Technical Manager for the IMI projects for Siemens and On-Metric Group in Brazil.
Before the presentation, we would like to show you an introduction move.
Brasilia is a very attractive city. It was built with the aim of integrating all the country's regions. Brasilia was selected to be the headquarters of the Metering Intelligence Center. It allows improved integration between these regions, where the 6 Eletrobras companies are based. I'm Paulo Lucena. I've been with Eletrobras for 29 years. I'm currently running the AMI project. Today, Eletrobras is the largest Latin American company in the energy sector. The More Energy program consists of a number of projects which are mainly intended to reduce non-technical losses at Eletrobras distribution companies. It's not fair for those who pay to have to pay for those who don't. When we have a metering system that is appropriate to our market, the bill will be split between more people, and so everyone will pay less.
todos pagarão menos.
A análise dos dados
The data received from the meters is analyzed in a system installed here in the Metering Intelligence Center. This is the energy IP system provided by Siemens, which enables monitoring as well as integration with our billing system. The Brazilian electrical energy market is currently growing at a rate of 5% a year. The region covered by Amazonas distribution, for example, is experiencing a particularly high growth in power consumption.
Manaus is a fantastic city. It has its own specific features as a metropolis in the middle of the Amazonian jungle. Unfortunately, in Amazonas, our losses are around 40%. These are the highest losses in Brazil. My name is Kiliana Vieira, and in 2015 I took over the management of loss metering and control, which is where I am today. What I like most is the field part of the job. We have residential customers, businesses, industries, service stations that are looking for some sort of alternative, a way of defrauding their meters. Sometimes a technician will have a look at the meter box and check for pulled wires, which would prevent 100% reading of the electricity. The new technology is driving progress. In Manaus, we have had telemetry for 2 or 3 years. Siemens are helping us to increase our telemetry installations. I spend all week involved in actions, with or without police assistance. We try to rectify things there at the time. Sometimes we are confronted by armed people. Unfortunately, we run into lots of risks, but that's part of our work.
The More Energy Project is a strategic World Bank project that helps the government in the Energy Quality Improvement Plan. Because it's a project that reduces losses and also regulates families' access to energy. Reducing losses is a way of delivering what people need, what the economy needs, but without wasting natural or financial resources.
Stealing energy is a crime. If anyone is caught in the act, they are arrested and spend time behind bars. Hi, Paolo, this is Keliani. We've checked the reading here remotely. It's all okay.
Great, thanks, take care.
Okay, thanks, bye.
In Brazil, the smart grid and the smart meter are still taking their first steps. This is a technology that will definitely be rolled out at a national level.
As you can see, Brazil and India have a similar problems when you talk about energy losses. So our customer, Eletrobras Group, is the major Brazilian electric utility. It's also Latin America's biggest company and the 10th largest in the world. They cover a whole energy chain responsible for 40% of generation, 70% of transmission and distribution.
Telemetry for 2 or 3 years. Siemens are helping us to increase our telemetry installations. I spend all week involved in actions, with or without police assistance. We try to rectify things there at the time. Sometimes we are confronted by armed people. Unfortunately, we run into lots of risks, but that's part of our work.
The More Energy Project is a strategic World Bank project that helps the government in the Energy Quality Improvement Plan. Because it's a project that reduces losses and also regulates families' access to energy. Reducing losses is a way of delivering what people need, what the economy needs, but without wasting natural or financial resources.
Stealing energy is a crime. If anyone is caught in the act, they are arrested and spend time behind bars. Hi, Paolo, this is Keliani. We've checked the reading here remotely. It's all okay.
Great, thanks, take care.
Okay, thanks, bye.
In Brazil, the smart grid and the smart meter are still taking their first steps. This is a technology that will definitely be rolled out at a national level.
As you can see, Brazil and India have a similar problems when you talk about energy losses. So our customer, Eletrobras Group, is the major Brazilian electric utility. It's also Latin America's biggest company and the 10th largest in the world. They cover a whole energy chain responsible for 40% of generation, 70% of transmission and distribution in the north and the northeast of Brazil. So the name of the project is More Energy. The projects are located in the 4 regionals in the north and 2 states in the northeast. So those regions face a level of 40% in energy losses, and it's the big challenge in our projects. So our objectives are improve operational and financial performance, combat no-low technical losses, improving quality of services, increasing protection revenues, improving management process and technical capacity. So the funding structure is 100% came from World Bank. The total of the value is $9,400. For $94 million, sorry. So, and we also have an integration operations center in the Eletrobras headquarters, located in the center of Brazil, in the capital, Brasilia. So, talking about our scope, it's a turnkey project, so where we have the end-to-end AME deployment. So, we have to supply 120,000 consumer units, divided 200 medium voltage meters and 100,000 low voltage meters, plus 1,000 metering sets. Looking at this number, it seems to be low, but the customer's units cover around 50% of the Eletrobras revenue. So the metering sets, it's composing for 1 meter, smart meter, 1 communication model, 1 test switch, and the current and the potential transformer. Use it on medium and high voltage consumer and transformers to monitor and help utilities to predict maintenance and energy balance. Poly-mounted outdoor cell to avoid tampering. All of the meters allows read and write over the air. Medium voltage have 68 channels and low voltage have 25 channels. All meters are rated for bidirectional energy flows, prepaid energy billing, remote connection and disconnection of energy supply, tamper detection, alarms, and magnetic immunity. As a turnkey project, we already have to supply all of the IT hardware and infrastructure and software infrastructure with the capacity to 1.5 million consumer units. So we also had our MDC and our MDM, called EnergyP, with an innovation, no technical losses model. So in our project is also included the service, software integration, operation, training, and a 3-year supporting. Field service included inspection, installation, and commissioning. Yes, it's 30,000. So how the project IMI communication works. So our field service installed the smart meters and the 3G GPRS communication models and the RF mesh PLC concentrator. They send the data to a telco operator through the MPLS network. We have do the dedicated private network, links and APNs, ensuring higher transfer rates, reliability, and safety data to the operation center in Brasilia. And then we also have more dedicated private network, more links, that we also have the small operation center on the regionals that also can be accessed, all of the information, all of the data, and can be billing.
So when you think of the infrastructure that we are providing that Marco presented in the previous slide, looks like we're introducing a private cloud solution into Eletrobras system. So we're getting data from 6 different orgs into one single data center, and this data can be also accessed, and then billing determinants are also sent to each billing system, because each org has its own billing system. So what we are delivering, what's the solution that Eletrobras AMI solution capable of? Of course, it's capable for monitoring data, 68 channels of medium voltage, 25 channels of low voltage. So we also enabled multi-tariff groups, user accounts, everything. So we're also able to control the meters. We can check the meter parameterization from the system. We also have, specifically for the 3G connection, we can check if the connectivity is good, if it's connecting, the communication module is reading data from the meter, because the communication module in this case does not reside inside the meter. It's connected with optical or serial cables. So we can check that with the system. Then the innovation that Eletrobras is really focusing is on no technical losses. So we have a module for that, which is the no technical losses module that Marco talked about. So that basically gets temporary notification, alarming, evaluates the data that we are receiving, historical data that the meters received. So we're not looking at this level, we're not looking at energy balancing, we're just looking at historical data. So we have like 36 sets of rules where you can weight the rules, and then it will use the weight on the rules to get the probability of a customer to be a risk fraudulent customer or not. So, of course, and then the other thing, we have like load simulation, and one thing that we have here is like a phasor chart analysis. In Brazil, the ABNT protocol that was told yesterday, it's a protocol that created a concept called a fiscal page, where we have like a set of channels from 18 to 36 channels, depending on the type of the meter, if there's time of use, if there's not time of use. So those channels are responsible for getting the instantaneous reads from the meter, current, voltage, power factor, the angles. So we can build the phasor chart, which is shown on the right, sorry. So we can build phasor charts in a tabular format, and the operator can look at that phasor chart, play the last 3, 4, 5 hours a day, 2 days, and check if there is any problem, like if a phase is missing or if something is missing, and then it can send a crew to the field to see if it's a problem with the meter, if it's someone trying to steal the energy, or some other kinds of problems. So as an end-to-end solution, we're also providing accounting, like what customers will be properly billed with the right tariff, with the right data read from the field. And then, of course, reporting. We have like all sorts of reports. Eletrobras can check, can do load balancing if they want. They can check consumption. They can check all things on the reports. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the lessons we faced on the project during the implementation phase. The first issue we found was like logistics. You saw that the Eletrobras discos are located in different states. Those states have really difficulty access, and sending materials to those states by air is too costly. So we made an effort to do like 100% inspection of all the meters, all the metering sets, everything that was deployed. On the installations, as you saw in the video, we have like support from local authorities, because sometimes we can't access a meter, sometimes people are threatening the team with guns. So we need really support and confidentiality from the disco to give service orders, so we can go there, and if there is some irregularity found on the system, we can sue the customers. Of course, we need a really good plan. So especially for the RF mesh deployment, it needs to be really planned. So we did like an RF mesh study. And of course, we need a good workforce management system, and then access to the metering points. As you see here, sometimes it's hard to have access to a meter. It's locked, sometimes no one has the key. So what they do this, because sometimes they have time to remove the fraud, and then you go there and change the meter, the fraud's not there. So there are also other cases, sometimes we need to install metering sets or concentrator on poles, and they have all sorts of wires, all sorts of things that are difficult, so the team has to be capable of working and making this work. And then sometimes, as I said, different metering locations, we need to have difficult access to the meter, so we need to have the proper tools to not risk the crew. This is just a picture of the installation in Manaus. So talking about the communication issues that we found so far. One of the things that we did at the proposal time was a site survey
and at the proposal time, to decrease the price, it was said, oh, well, let's go with one single carrier. But of course, it didn't work. In Brazil, one carrier can work good in one state or one area, and the other carrier can work good in other states. But it's really hard to find one carrier that can work in the whole country. So what happens? The communication module is capable of receiving two different SIM cards. So during the project phase, we had to provide different SIM cards with different carriers. And in some cases, we also had to provide some kind of broker with a whole range of carriers, then it chooses the best signal to communicate with the control center. Another thing that we did at the communication modules, they are pretty standard-based. So as I said, we have the ABNT protocol, which is something used for like the electronic meters, and some of the smart meters that have this capability. And then this communication module that we are deploying also can communicate with DLS comms. So the thing is, the communication module is really flexible. Its firmware can be configured because we know that sometimes a vendor doesn't really implement the protocol as it is, do some tweaks or create some specific OBIS codes, for example, on GLMS communications. So the communication module is really flexible to do that. And then the Eletrobras is not really tied to a single or two providers, like meter providers. So here's just a small picture, like how the 3G was deployed. So you see it's not concentrated in a single area. The red dots are more concentrated points, but it's go all the way around. This is Amazonas state. So here we're just like zooming, and as I said, we have like the communication module. We can see like the yellow dots. They show that there's a potential problem of communication. Maybe the sign is not that great. Maybe the meter is not communicating with the communication module. And then, of course, the green ones are communicating well. It's just a picture to see how you can see that information on the system. How does Eletrobras see? What are the challenges around the RF planning? As I said, we had to do RF mesh implementation. As I said, we had to do a really strong RF planning. We had to decide which customers would be using RF mesh meters, communication modules. And then we also have to have alternatives because, for example, if someone moves out from a location and that meter was supposed to be installed there, we need to have an alternative so we don't compromise the convergency and the consistency of the RF network. The second thing is that the study was made by our US partners, and then they were done for like acrylic boxes. But the meters in Brazil, as I show in the picture, they are in metal boxes. And the metal boxes reduce the range of the communication. So in some areas we had to reduce the height of the concentrator on the poles by 2 meters, so it could be communicating.
2 minutes more to sum up, please.
Sorry?
2 minutes more to sum up, please.
Okay. So of course we have like a strong back office, RF mitigation, including network extension range. So this is how the RF network is implemented. So it's concentrated, and after we fill up all the layers, we go back and move to the other concentrators. So here are some real cases that we found. So here's using one of the phasor charts. On this scenario, the operator found that there was no voltage phase A on the consumer. They sent a crew to the field. They identified that there was the secondary transformer phase A was missing. So at this case, Eletrobras was able to recover 282 million watt in energy bills.
So the other real cases that I'll show you is, for example, about the frauding. Meter reads then the real current. The demand control installed inside the meter changed the voltage. And the most common fraud there is the sales violated. So talking about the results of the project until December 2006. So the metering center operation started in November 2015. In 1 year, it was monitoring 12,000 units, where we could identify 126 irregularities, already reduced 1.2% of no technical losses, that representing $23 million in aggregated energy, plus $3.4 million in recovered energy. And they also had 316 possible irregularities that is in process. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for inviting us. It's a pleasure to stay in your country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez and Mr. Diego. And I think this presentation itself shows that we are on the same rather footing. The problem is the same everywhere, whether it's India or Brazil or maybe other countries too. And of course, I had Mr. Bansal yesterday also and today also, I think he had mentioned rightfully, it's not only data and data. Data analytics is the key thing which has to take place, and then only the utility can take actions. And of course, smart metering can be a facilitator, but ultimately action has to be taken by the utility. And now I'll request Mr. Anuj Goswami from Assam to present his case. They are also implementing one of the smart grid pilot projects sanctioned under Government of India MOP, and they will share their experiences and the learnings. Good presentation. And good talks all together. Yeah. How many meters altogether? Yeah. 1 meter per hour? Yeah. Okay. And what was the last level at that time? 40%. 40%. Now after that?
Good morning, good evening to all. So coming from a very faraway place, Assam, where sometimes we feel out of mainstream, it is my privilege, I feel privileged and also honored to speak before this august audience. So of course, this is my first-hand experience. I was with this project for last 4 years, since the beginning, since when the smart grid pilots have been sanctioned by Government of India in 2013. So I am in this project from so long. But this is the post-last sessions. I used to speak in the post-last sessions. We used to feel sleepy after some sumptuous meal offered by IMA. So I think you will not get bored by what I'm going to say, and we will not lose the interest. I will skip through because I have seen that Mr. Himendra, my friend, he covered Agartala. Vivek, Dr. Vivek, he has covered Mysore. Nothing much is left to me. That way I'm very much relieved because the configuration is same for all most of the pilots. But as I'm asked to present the paper, I was within 10 minutes flat. I will end my paper. You needn't bother. And a few my thinking, loud thinking. I'll not go into details of my project, but a few words about my company I want to highlight. My company, APDCL, is one of the largest utility in the Northeast region. We are serving 37 lakhs consumers. Our loss is down to 22.5% from, say, 30% few years back. I think it's quite an achievement, given the topography of my state and a lot of extremist activity. You may get shot if you ask for revenue, if you ask for so such the conditions. Even I myself face such while walking in a subdivision. So even then, I think not a bad 22.5% AT&C losses. And besides, we are a lot of new age technology we are introducing as we are using ERP, the SCADA DMS in Guwahati city, and smart grid. Besides this pilot project, our management is thinking about 3 other projects. This is for the august audience, where already the tender has been out for 35,000 meters in tea gardens. As you know, the Assam is famous for tea. Over 35,000 meters in tea gardens, already the tender has been out. And we are contemplating under Uday scheme to cover entire Guwahati, 1.8 lakhs consumers under smart metering. And besides that, we have 71 RAP-DAP towns. We have 18 circles. And the government is contemplating, in fact, the Pogajic project is on the higher pipeline, to convert around 24 towns, RAP-DAP towns, under smart metering. Of course, we have no problem in fund because this is a balance of utilization from an ADB project. For last 10 years, ADB is financing our state. Now coming to my slides, I will not discuss all this configuration, but one issue I want to highlight. See, we started in 2013, April to be said precisely. So down the line, this 4 years, a lot of water has flowed down to the big Brahmaputra river. But what the progress we have? Yes, we have installed 1,000 meters. We have the smart grid control room is in place. The hardware has been installed. The commissioning test for software is going on. We have almost finalized with Vodafone for the communication. But what I feel, all these years, this is my loud thinking, of course, this is public sector way of working. This is least cost, the bidding for the least cost. It may not be the good solution for such a project where you are going for a technology test and economics and technology of a smart grid. That's what will come out of my slides, but that is my feeling. And secondly, I feel that, of course, Sudhanshu has already covered this financing. I also feel that leasing and services model with revenue sharing, one of the, maybe the best model. Instead of installing all the meters, then software, then hardware, then communication, it is a massive affair for us. Okay, that is, with the challenges already discussed, I may not go into details. As you see, the legacy equipment and systems, we have SCADA, DMS, RGVY, other state government schemes, ERP, all the integration and the seamless integration with the legacy equipment and technology, one of the topmost challenges we are facing. And secondly, this lack of standard and interoperability. This has already been discussed, and this is one of the most complicated issues. As you know, most in our public sector utilities, everyone is, know about RAP-DRP. RAP-DRP has standardized approach. You have standard bidding documents. Everything is standardized. But in smart grid, you are groping in the darkness. Of course, Bali Sahab and others and the mission have helped us a lot. But even then, I feel that we don't have clarity of the technology requirement, software and middleware requirement. And given an example, as you know, I'm not going into details. 16444 standards and 15959 Part 2 has been notified in August 15 and August 16 respectively. But my bid has been out in 7th November 2014. What am I to do? Should I ask them to go for this? It will be a crime to ask them to go for the new standards when these standards are not there, but already my bid is out. So this is, I think, one of the main challenges. I cannot ask them to give test report as per IS 16044 and IS 15959. But even then, also, somebody may ask me that you are taking a new technology, but you are not following the BIS standards. That is also a question which I have no answer. Secondly, integration of RAP-DRP system. Bali Sahab also flagged this issue. I think he has also flagged this issue. But one thing.
Anuj, 2 minutes more.
Yes. To speak the truth, I am a person who calls spade a spade. For this integration, my ITA is charging me, asking me 2.2 crores of rupees to the existing embassy system with the smart grid embassy system. That is what we have to work, and I think how we get to the solution. And next, policy and regulatory framework. As you know that regulator will not allow you disconnect consumers just like that. Even if you have a disconnect facility, you cannot disconnect for sustained overall malpractice. The regulation has to be in place. I was in regulatory commission for 7 years. I know how difficult it is to pass this in the commission. And technology maturity already discussed. We are discussing on and on for the communication modes, radio frequency, GPRS, PLC. Let us see what comes about it. Lack of awareness. Of course, we in Assam are very fortunate enough. We have a very good consumer level. We have so many discussions with consumers. We have meetings, we have seminars, we have whatnot. So no consumer is against us for implementation of smart grid. We have a very good experience, but a lot of work has to be done. And last, with in-home display units, I'm very sorry to say the government of India have disallowed this in-home display units. And I feel that, in my opinion, that without in-home display, the consumers cannot understand the full benefits of the smart grid project. And in fact, our government of Assam is gracious enough to give us resource from their fund. Then cyber security, I need not discuss, I already discussed. And this is one upon multiple vendors. As I say, we should go for meter servicing agency, because we have a meter manufacturer, we have a system integrator, we have a bandwidth service provider, hardware, software suppliers. Of course, the SI is supposed to integrate all these, but in reality we see that we have to seize each of them for completion of the work. And status of the project, as I already told, that 1,000 meters installed, control room has been, hardware installed, software testing is going on. Now I feel that these are the challenges, but with the support of the government and the active participation of the utilities and the implementing agencies, but last but not the least, the consumers. There is no reason why the smart grid pilot project will not be successful. The larger rollout made based on the success of the pilots. As I already said, my government and my management has thinking of three numbers of more smart grid projects. Already GOI announced that all consumers with consumption above 10 units per month are to be converted to smart meters by 2019, which will require all-out effort from all concerned to reach the goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Anandji. I think you must have gone through the challenges and the pain and agony the utility have gone through over the time. They have issues in RAP, DRP. Now after implementing RAP, DRP, the smart grid, sometime back, I think in the pre-afternoon, pre-lunch session, I think the speaker mentioned about this aspect. There is an integration challenge. Now, of course, there are issues involved at the time when we conceptualize these pilot projects of the smart meter specification. Because when we say smart, or even the smart grid, it's a different connotation altogether. So utility has to gone through the process, CA released the functional spec in 2013, slowly the standards came into being, and the testing altogether. And there are numerous, I think the compliance issue, it failed numerous times, and utility was in awe of that, and basically lack of team, lack of capacity building and all together. These are the typical issues. I think sometime back I remember, when I think even from Tata Power, Mr. Praveer Sinha specifically mentioned that it is basically the capacity building and the team capability altogether. They have to take through, they have to identify. So I think everywhere we have to have first the need assessment, where we want to go and where we are. That is the maturity model suggests. Rightfully, I think in the beginning of today's session, I think Mr. Bansal typically mentioned what is the capacity or what is the maturity model of a typical distribution utility. And I think these are the learning which we have to carry through altogether. And of course, rightfully, the Metering India 2017 theme is smart and sustainable utilities. Ultimately, if the utility is sustainable, all through these things would be coming together. Now, the last presentation I would invite from Brazil again. This is from the government perspective. This is from the regulator perspective. We have Mr. Carlos here. He will be presenting their case study of the Brazil, southern Brazil. I request him to present it, please.
Thank you so much. Do you have a laser frontier? This next, no, frontier to. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Juan Carlos Mateus from the Brazilian National Institute of Metrology. I would like to start my presentation talking something about the INMETRO. INMETRO is the national government authority responsible to maintain the national measurement primary standard in Brazil. We implement also national policies on metrology and quality. We plan and carry out any activities of accreditation and calibration of testing labs. We perform many developments on conformity assessments. And also, one of the main issues that we have is to ensure the credibility of measurement results in the field of legal metrology. So this image is worth it than 1,000 words. We have here commercial relationship. So this commercial relationship is also, you have here a interest conflict between the buyer and the consumer. So in the middle of this commercial transaction, you have an measurement instrument. So This is for the electricity meters. We have also the same relationship, and in Metro is involved because this is also a commercial transaction. So the metrological control of instruments in Brazil starts with type approval. We perform also initial verifications, periodical verifications, after repair verification, and even eventual verification requested by users of the instruments. So in the electricity meter industry, we have the same challenges of metrological control of measurement instruments, so that the new challenges appear because there are new technology in the field, you know. So we start with electromechanical meters. After that, we pass for static meters, and right now we are we have in the field complex metering systems that need to have many different approaches to perform the metrological control. So to understand what is the challenges that we are facing, we need to first take a look in the traditional system, how the traditional system works. Basically, you have in one body, in one instrument, the display, the processing, the sensors, and basically the customer and the distribution company are looking at the same point that is the display. The display is the point when the measurement result is published. Okay? So in Metro, acting in the calibration points in order to give credibility to the measurement of the electricity. Okay, so the new automated meter reading systems start with display, sensor, and calibration point, and processing in different places on the electricity network. And all of these different devices need communication and software to work. So at this moment, you see that the distribution companies are looking at one point, and the customers are looking at other points. So difference could appear. Okay, so this is a challenge. What was the drivers, the motivation that led to the Brazil install automated meter solution? Basically, the main motivation was to prevent energy thefts. So in some regions, non-technical losses reach 22% of the contracted energy. This is a very large amount. So one of our drivers was, well, we need to prevent these energy thefts. So distribution companies identified that these problems happen mainly because consumers manipulate the meter. So the strategy was to install the metering point as far as possible from the consumers. So how they do that? Well, they install an automated meter reading system that basically is composed by metering boxes installed along the low voltage network. So these metering boxes are installed at the top of the medium voltage post. So we have the level of medium voltage. Here is a metering box. Here we have a transformer that converts the medium voltage level to low voltage level common in Brazil. The low voltage supply the metering box, and from the metering box you can provide energy to any customer. In the metering box, you have between 9 to 12 single-phase metering modules, and you can also combine these modules to measure, for example, 2-phases consumer or 3-phase consumers. So then basically this is the work of this system. This system is a smart meter from second generation. Why we call that system a second generation? Because you can implement it, connection and disconnection of the consumer, the automated meter reading, and also we can verify if someone tries to open this metering box, there emit some alarms that can sending to the electricity company. So the metering box have directional communication through radio frequency to data collectors. So these data collectors or concentrators collect all the data from the metering boxes. So you can install as many metering boxes as you can, depending of the size of the geographical region. And from the data collector, you send these measurement readings to the billing central through GPRS technology. Basically, it's cell phones, you know. So they can use 2 SIM cards, for example, in order to provide reliability, you know, because in some places communication could be failed. So by the way, they use 2 SIM cards, okay? So if the billing central needs to make a disconnection, they send a proper instruction, and the data collector present to the metering box and disconnect or reconnect a load, okay? In the home, we have in-home displays that we call individual reading terminals. We have 1 individual reading terminal per consumer that is refreshed at each 1 kilowatt consuming. We have unidirectional communication from the metering boxes to the individual reading terminal. So you can use radio frequency or PLC to make this communication, okay, depending on the manufacturer of the system.
Mr. Collas, 2 minutes, please. 2 minutes more.
2 minutes? Yeah. Wow.
It's a difficult job, I think. I know, please.
Well, the system is installed in many places in Brazil. So in poor areas and also rich areas, we have these in-home displays. The regulatory challenges that we faced was many requirements for type approval. So we need to develop new standard, new regulation that is not applied this standard that is the international standard for electricity meters. We need to warrant to the installed system attains the maximum permissible errors. We also need to warrant that the readings also be available for all the consumer, and also we need to solve many legal matters regarding the delivery point. So there are some results of the verification that we performed between 2007 and 2008 in Rio de Janeiro. As the number of clients was greater than 280,000 consumers being needed for the systems, we need to make a sample verification. Manufacturer A, we have 80 consumers and 800 samples and 500 samples. So the verification methodology involved to install a higher accuracy reference meter in the homes, and also measure in parallel for 1 month. And also the maximum permissible error shouldn't be greater than plus or minus 4%. What anomalies we found during this verification? Incorrect consumption displayed in the IRT of the home display, incorrect meter constants. This is a problem of configuration of the system, faulty communication between the metering boxes, and also emergency intervention for the utilities. What is the result that we're getting? Well, basically for single-phase systems, we obtain a very good results, but for 2 phases and 3 phases, we obtain very high percentage of defective meters in the field, you know. So we need to perform a statistical analysis, but because the lack of time, we will not present right now. So this verification supports many decisions about these systems, and also after that we perform a meter error distribution analysis. This meter error allows us to observe, for example, that between the systems that attend the requirement of plus or minus 4% of defective. We observe that some instruments present tendencies. So policymakers need to be careful about that. We need to develop some regulation about the problem of tendency, okay? Well, to finish, the conclusion and lesson learned was that AMR system presented many challenges from a technical, economical, and also regulatory point of view. We observed a lack of international standard, but we understand that reading displays are a key concept for the measurement systems, so it cannot be depicted. The metrological control of this type of system cannot be limited to check the measurement error. Also, software requirements are indispensable. Cybersecurity, it's an issue that needs to be taken into account. Relevant information need to be displayed to the in-home display, like total consumption, date, hour of the last refresh, meter identification, and firmware version. So other thing that we really decide is that the calibration point need to be located at the display level. It is not already implemented, but we really would like that it could be implemented, because this is a way to grant for the metrological agents to verify this system and also provide a very good trustability or reliability of this system, you know. So the results of the field verification support many decisions, and we also detect, after all these problems was solved, we have an indicator that is close to 4% of defective meters, and even this small percentage means a big defective number of meters is still in the field. So it means maybe 4,000 to 10,000 electricity meters or consumer that could be affected by wrong measurements, okay? So this verification needs to be periodically. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Collas.